Okay, so we'll be starting with the first scheduling algorithm problem. Okay. So this will be the given data for you, that is how many number of processes. Here the given data is processes P1, P2 and P3 are there, and they will be given with the arrival times and the burst time. Okay, what is that? First thing you have to create is you have to create the giant chart over here. Okay, you can see the giant chart over here. This is what is to be drawn by you members. That is process P1. How the giant chart looks is it's quite simple. Each process, when it starts and when it's complete. Okay, this is what the giant chart will talk about, right? So process P1 is here. P1, the arrival time is at 0th microsecond. So that is why it is starting at the 0th microsecond. And what is the burst time? Burst time is the total CPU time taken for the completion of that process. So it will be taking 4 microseconds. So as it is starting from 0th microsecond, so the completion time of P1 will be on 4th microsecond, right? So now P2 has arrived at 1st microsecond, but it has to wait until and unless process P1 is completed its execution. As you can see here, the process P1 completes its execution at 4th microsecond. So P2 is taken by the CPU after the completion of P1. So P2 starts its execution at 4th microsecond. And what is the total time taken for P2 to execute? It is 3 microseconds. So 4 plus 3 is 7. So set the 7th microsecond, P2 completes its execution. And which is the third process which is to be carried out. So as you can see here, the arrival time is 2 microseconds. So which is arriving first? P1, which is arriving second? P2, and which is arriving third? P3, right? So as P3 is arriving last, so it will be taken at the last for execution. So what is the total execution time for P3 over here? It is just 1 microsecond. But when it has to start, even though it is there on the second microsecond itself, but it can't start at second microsecond. Why? Because it has to wait for the completion of P1 and P2. Okay. So when P1 and P2 is completed, P2 completes at 7th microsecond. So that is the time when P3 starts its execution, that is at the 7th microsecond. So what is the completion time of that? It is 8 microsecond. How this 8 microsecond is coming? It starts its execution at 7th microsecond. And what is the execution time of this P3? It is 1 microsecond. So 7 plus 1 is 8. So all the processes will be executed in 8 microseconds. Okay. So this giant chart talks about your completion time. By this, you can just understand what is the completion time of each and every process over that. So what is the formula for completion time? If you just see the completion time, you can see the completion time is given over here. The completion time formula is start time plus burst time. If you see process P1 is starting at 0 plus what is the burst time of that? It is 4. So what is the completion time? It will be 4 over there. Okay. And when your process P2 starts its execution, it starts at 4th microsecond plus what is the burst time? The burst time is 3. 4 plus 3 is 7. It completes at 7th microsecond, right? So when your P3 starts its execution, the P3 starts its execution at 7th microsecond. What is the burst time of that? It is 1. So it completes at 8 microsecond. So completion time for P1 is 4, P2 is 7, and P3 is 8. Okay. So now let us move to the turnaround time. Okay. How to calculate the turnaround time? If you know the completion time and if you know the arrival time, you can easily calculate your turnaround time. What is the turnaround time formula? It is completion time minus arrival time. Okay. So let us see what is the completion time of your process P1. It is 4. And what is the arrival time? It is 0. So the turnaround time is 4 minus 0 is 4 over there. Okay. So what is the completion time of P2? The completion time of P2 is 7 and the arrival time is 1. So this it will be 6. The turnaround time of P2 will be 6. Okay. And what will be the completion time for P3? It will be 8. And what will be the arrival time? It is 2. Okay. So the turnaround time will be 6. Now let us just calculate your waiting time. Okay. So the formula for waiting time is what? Turnaround time minus burst time. Okay. So as we were talking about the waiting time, so what is the formula for waiting time is turnaround time minus burst time. So you can see here 4 is the turnaround time and the burst time for P1 is 4 microseconds. So the waiting time will be 0. Similarly, calculated for P2, what is the turnaround time for your P2? It is 6. And what is the burst time for that? The burst time for it is 3. So 6 minus 3 is 3 microseconds. Similarly calculated for turnaround time for P3 is 6 and your burst time is 1 microsecond, which is equal to 5, right? So the waiting time for P3 is 5 and waiting time for P2 is 3 and waiting time for P1 is waiting time for P1 is 0. Okay, so how to calculate the average turnaround time and the average waiting time? It is quite simple. 4 plus 6 plus 6 divided by 3, which is equal to how much? 5.33 microsecond. This is what is your average turnaround time. And what is the average waiting time? It is 0 plus 3 plus 5, which is equal to 2.67 microsecond. Okay, so this is what you have to do is you have to calculate the turnaround time and waiting time. Okay, so this is how you will be calculating the turnaround time and waiting time. Hope so it's quite clear. Okay, thank you very much.